welcome back to the world of cinematics. It's been a hot minute since I've been here. I don't know about everyone else, but today we are all back here. We got Jed, Stefan,
Back for a
Robert.
special audio only episode.
Yes,
Yep,
that is
you're so
true.
lucky.
You don't even get to see our purty faces. But this time we're going to be talking about all the movies from last year.
Every single movie to release.
Yes, well, no. When we say we're going to talk about all the movies, I mean Jed probably could,
Yeah.
but the rest of us, we don't got time for that. So this time we're going to narrow it down for you and give you our top recommendations of 2022.
We've got a bit of a variety here, like a documentary here, a horror movie there, a comedy, got a little bit of everything. But we wanted to kick it off real quick with a movie that just Stefan and I have seen, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, I've seen people calling this the new Matrix movie, not in questioning reality, but that this is, something that just came out of nowhere and it changes everything. Personally, I'm not quite there. I love the movie. It's a strong 4.5 out of 5 for me. And I'm not denying the incredible strengths of the movie. I'm just saying it didn't transform my life. Stefan, you just saw the movie last night. What do you think of it?
I'd have to agree that it has a lot of the strengths that I really, really enjoyed. The action was competently choreographed, shot, very much in the vein of a lot of those. It's Michelle
Michelle Yeoh.
Yeoh.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've seen her in a couple of films growing up, and it's in the vein of those films like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Mm.
I don't know if she was in Hero, but I've seen that one as well. And the film is also insanely funny, which is
Mm.
kind of
I never thought I'd laugh at hot dogs so hard. Or a
right.
raccoon.
Or yeah,
Or, you know,
or
2001 A Space Odyssey references.
here's a mild
Or
spoil.
trophies.
Yeah, a mild spoiler. It's multiversal jumping by basically putting on a headset, and in order to activate the abilities from other multiverses,
Like, you can learn the abilities and skills of different versions of yourself throughout the
right,
multiverse. You
right.
don't travel, but memories do.
Yeah, you have infinite potential, and the way to activate that is you need to do something that's statistically improbable, such
Hmm.
as getting a paper cut between every finger
Yes.
on your
Have
hand.
yourself 4 paper cuts in succession.
Yeah, or spitting in someone's eye or
Or
something. Just
telling a
really
tax
random.
lady who's auditing you and trying to kill you, I love you. Or, your life's in danger. Go take a nap. Lots of just impossible, maybe not impossible, but things that there's no reason for you to do. And
Yeah,
when
they're
you
not
do that,
probable.
yeah, when you do that, it weakens the boundaries between dimensions enough for you to jump back and forth between them.
Hmm. And I think it plays out like it's sort of in the Matrixy vein in that it's like, wow, here's
Like question your reality.
question reality. Here's the science fiction stuff.
Hmm.
But really, to me, at the core, it's a film about a family that
Yes.
is struggling to keep it together and everything else, and it does a good job of incorporating that. That's sort of the center. There's a big old plot around that, but at the end of the day, it's about how even in the multiverse, like Michelle
Michelle Yeoh.
Yao Yo
Yo, yeah.
Yo, her dad is kind of the same guy in every universe. She has similarities with a lot of her
Hmm.
different universe people, and so, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's a good
The
film.
the first time I saw it, I definitely related more to Joy, the daughter of Michelle Yeoh. She is, she's having troubles with her mother, who's an immigrant. She doesn't really feel like she fits in with her family, and just she wants it to be over. She's sick and tired of all this. And, as the film goes on, you learn to the degree that she's sick and tired of all this, and some really funny and scary and violent things, but really sad and really, heartbreaking and emotional. This time watching it, I definitely identified more with Kiki Kwan's character, Michelle Yeoh's husband.
Yeah.
Somebody who, yeah, has basically gone through everything that Michelle Yeoh did, gone through everything that their daughter Joy did, and he's handling it so much better. Not because he hasn't been beaten down by all this pain and suffering, but because he chooses to be happy. He chooses to be kind. And it's not that he's naive, it's not that he is stupid and doesn't see the world. He sees the world and says, I'm going to smile anyways.
Yeah, it's one heck of a comeback for him because we know him as Short Round or Data
Hmm.
as a child actor way back in the 80s, and he hasn't obviously done anything in 30 or 40 years, but he's come back and he really hit the ground running and knocked it out of the park with this performance.
He's going to get an Oscar nomination and maybe a win.
I hope so because he's my favorite character
Hmm.
in that, and he also did some pretty cool Jackie Chan action, which we haven't seen him do since Temple of Doom. He did that a
Ironically,
little bit.
he kicked butt with a fanny pack.
Yeah, that was great.
Hmm.
And so yeah, it's definitely a film to explore. It's unique, I think. It stands out, and that's why we're talking about it today.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. I personally have not seen it, so this recommendations video or lack of video is actually recommendations for each other as well, because we're gonna recommend movies that some of us have not seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm actually interested to go see this, and now that I know
Alright.
what the premise is.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an R-rated movie for those of you who are concerned about that. It's on VidAngel, so if you get a chance, go watch it. It's a lot of fun and very emotional and scary, and it's everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, we're gonna, each one of us is going to mention 3 different movies that we have seen this year, and we want to recommend either to each other or to you, the audience. So I'm going to start off with the movie that I'm the only one here who's seen, and I don't know how much you guys know about this movie. It's called Banshees of Inisherin. Not Ed Sheeran, Inisherin. It's
That's his cousin.
yes, it's a fictional Irish island where on it you got this guy played by Colin Farrell, who was great in the Batman this year, but this is his real standout performance. He plays a guy who he's nice and he's kind of friendly, and he's kind of like a golden retriever, and he's kind of annoying sometimes, but like not because he's annoying because like, oh, I can't stand it, but like he's just so nice and so boring. And he has this friend played by not Donald Gleason, by Brendan Gleeson, Mad Eye Moody, and he's old, and it's a small island, everyone knows each other, and he's sick and tired of this guy. Listen, I don't want to be your friend anymore. It's nothing against you, I just don't want to be your friend anymore. But this guy keeps bothering him. Like, hey, we were friends, let's be friends. We're friends, let's be friends. Don't be dumb, let's be friends. I mean, heck, I'm with your sister, so let's be friends. And he's, okay, look, stop. I just want to focus on my music. You're not leaving me alone, so here, look at my hand. Every time you come bother me, I'm cutting a finger off.
Wow. Okay, that's quite the way to. That's a little.
Escalate.
It is. And it starts as a dark comedy,
It's kind of a.
and it ends as a serious drama.
You get out of that relationship.
Because, let me tell you, he loses a finger, and things escalate from just fingers. Because eventually they start doing things to each other, and then doing things to themselves to spite each other.
Do they like these things they're doing to each other?
No.
Oh.
It's a great examination of like, okay, do you have the right to be rude? Do you have the right to be grumpy? Do you have the right to, push people away? Yeah. And it's going to make you miserable. It's going to make everyone around you miserable. And, sometimes, you got that guy who's hanging on and, he thinks you're best friends and you don't really like him all that much. But honestly, you're going to be happier with them in your life. And you're going to be a whole lot happier than if, hypothetically, I'm not saying that this happens, but like you'd be a whole lot happier now than if you, watched them go walk into a lake and die because no one liked them when they realized that.
Gotcha.
Sounds like
So yeah, it sounds like the blackest comedy ever, and it is, until it stops being funny.
Gosh. Yeah, there's a fine line between comedy and tragedy.
Yeah,
That sounds like it passes it.
it does. It tap dances all over that line, goes back and forth with it. It's not going to be on VidAngel because it's I think it's a Warner Brothers movie, but it's on HBO Max. It's rated R. I don't know. I'll definitely be editing that one. So I don't know. Hey, talk to me.
Yeah, that sounds like the dark, twisted, drunken Irish version of What About Bob?
Yeah, it definitely has some similarities there, except
It's
if the
just
psychiatrist and Bob actually did like each other at some
at
point.
one point, and then it's about their relationship falling apart because
Yeah,
one of them wants to be
So
and
grown
how it
up.
affects other people and how other people's relationships start falling apart because of it, and it spreads like wildfire.
Bob!
so just to be clear, there are no banshees in this.
There are no banshees. It's a metaphor.
Uh,
Yeah,
Dang it.
it's not a fantasy.
Well, there could be banshees if depending how much you were drinking while you watch it. So.
Yeah, hey, who knows? So yeah, that's the Banshees of Inisherin, a very funny movie that made me feel a whole lot.
cool.
Yep. All right, Stefan, you want to lead us off with your next one?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about Weird, which we did briefly mention in one of our podcasts.
Mhm.
And the thing about Weird is it's as we mentioned before, it's the true story of Weird Al Yankovic, and all of us here have enjoyed his music, and we've enjoyed his parodies.
And you may think you know Weird Al, but
Right.
to quote Weird Al, everything you know is wrong.
Yeah. And it's a funny film. It's a fun film. It's basically, I call it the soul successor of UHF
Hmm.
in the sense that it's the same kind of comedy. It's the same over the top acting, and Daniel Radcliffe does a really good job of mimicking Weird Al and his weirdness. There's one line that I really love because in the film he's dating Madonna.
And the movie, it's a parody of like music biopics. So you're going to get to that point where the lead, he's drunk and angry and he separates himself from the people who are always there
Right,
for him.
he's yelling at his band. He's like, "Yeah, I'm the weird one," and he's going off and on, and they leave him, and Madonna's kind of indifferent. She's smoking a cigarette in the background. She's like, "Those guys seem nice," and he's like, "Yeah, they're great." And it's like that kind of humor. I think that was my favorite line in the whole film.
Hmm.
It's funny. It's 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 weird. My only gripe with it is they tease us with the fat parody,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorites, but they only tease it with words. They don't actually have Daniel Radcliffe in the fat suit dancing around. But other than that, this is a very funny movie.
It's pretty great seeing him, not necessarily in a fat suit, but for Amish Paradise, the tearaway not mustache.
Yeah, it's just so that he could hide his mustache with a not mustache, uh, and then they do like a surgeon on
Mm.
stage after he goes to the hospital
Mm-hmm.
because he's drunk after he yells at his band, and then he gets in a car wreck and he wakes up and he's like do and all that, and it's like I got inspiration for my next
Like he
painting.
runs from the surgery and from the operation room straight to the theater to perform it live.
Right, and he's like, oh, I don't know if I can keep going. Madonna's like, you can keep going, and it's fine. We'll get another bag of blood for you or whatever. So
Wow.
yes, but it's really, and even has there's a scene in UHF where uh he fantasizes that he's Rambo. There's a similar scene where it goes down to South America.
Takes on the drug cartel.
Yeah, and it's
And in this 100% true story.
yeah. So yeah, it's I couldn't recommend it more if you're a Weird Al fan or a UHF fan.
Just a fan of comedy. When was the last time we got a pure comedy that was actually good?
Right, yeah, that's kind of in the vein of some of the older like Naked Gun.
There's a bit of Zoolander in there.
Yeah, those kind of it's not parody, it's like reference comment. I guess that those are
Kind of
parodies.
satire.
Satire, yeah. But go watch it if you haven't. It's
Mhm.
PG-13. You don't need to edit it. It has weird scenes that children probably shouldn't see because they'll think it's scary when it's actually just funny.
No, but it earned its PG-13.
Yeah. So,
Sounds cool.
Hmm.
I haven't seen that one either, but I do like Weird Al. Grew up with all those songs.
It's free if you have Roku. Go for it.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I suppose it's my turn.
Mm.
We doing this one?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so my one of the ones I recommend is actually a documentary. It is called What is a Woman by Matt Walsh. It's just it's really interesting because it explores the whole transgender movement, and it looks into that, and it just Matt Walsh goes around asking these professors, these doctors,
Hmm.
um, and just people on the street their views on this
Mhm.
and how they see this, and he just lets the people talk. So it's really interesting to go in there and just see how other people think and what their line of logic is.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, you can decide where you line up with it, but
Yeah.
Matt Walsh is clearly pushing one side of
Yeah.
what he believes.
But never in like the interview segments. He just
He just
asks,
lets them talk.
"What is a woman?"
Yeah,
And you see people respond, shall we say?
they respond. Yes. There's a lot of slack for this movie. A lot of people think it's like Hitler wrote it like, "Oh, I don't need to watch that." And it's like, "Well, how do you know it's evil?" It's like, "Well, I know my Mein Kampf is evil, but I don't have to read that."
Mein Kampf is taught in schools, but
You know,
people aren't willing to watch this. So
yeah, I know. It's. I don't think that's a good argument because you
yeah.
still need to see what evil is so you can recognize it. So if you
Mhm.
go watch this, and if you still think it's evil after watching it, that makes sense.
Sure.
That's your opinion.
Yeah.
But if you just point blank just reject it because somebody somewhere said it was bad,
Mhm.
that I don't know. You could also say you're listening to some guy on the internet say it's good, but I recommend it. You don't knock it till you try it, sort of thing.
I usually hesitate to say this about art. Usually when I hear people say it, it just sounds like they're trying to make it themselves sound big and impressive, but this is the one movie out of all these movies we're going to talk about that I would actually describe as important.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, it's because it's asking the things that we're not allowed to ask anymore. It's saying the things we're not allowed to say anymore. And if we don't address these things, there's going to be, for better or worse, however you come down on it, there's going to be drastic consequences. And that shouldn't be something that we just dive into without thinking about.
exactly. We should, because you listen to some of these people's
Hmm.
viewpoints, and you're just like, oh, that's what they think. I
Hmm.
never really gave that much thought, but
Yeah.
now that they say that out loud, that doesn't make any sense,
Hmm.
or that doesn't line up with what I have believed or what I've been taught.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be open to other ideas and stuff.
Absolutely. It's
It's
important.
it's more important to know what those ideas are,
Yeah.
not just accept them at face value.
Hmm.
So I think it's a good watch.
The fascinating thing about the film is it would in the past, if you were to have it come out 15 years ago, it would have been dismissed because it was irrelevant and not something that was a hot topic. It would have been like, okay, this is kind of dumb. Why are you talking about this? It's like, duh, we all are on the same page here, or at least most of us are,
Hmm.
and everything else is on the fringe. But it's dismissed today because it is so relevant,
Hmm.
and I think its relevance is worth seeing. If you disagree with it, that's totally fine. Not everybody can be right, and so
If you're going to disagree with it, engage with the arguments
right,
presented.
right.
Don't just stand up and leave saying you're a bad person.
Yeah, and if you can't tell, I'm joking. That's because my sarcasm is like a stick rather than a 2x4.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, yeah. And then the other thing about it is, we're talking about what's evil and what's not. You go into some of these people's beliefs,
Hmm.
by the end of it, it seems pretty evil, whether they know it or not. I mean, if they know it, it's all the more evil. Just what they do and just the transitioning of children who,
Yeah.
you could convince a kid to do anything.
Hmm.
And convincing a kid to do things that mutilate their own body
Mm.
that they won't realize was a mistake until they're much older.
And that they can never go back from.
You can't come back from that. You cut off your arm, it's gone. You cut off anything, it's gone. You put
Well,
things in
maybe
your
not hair,
body.
but
What's that?
maybe not hair, but
Oh yeah.
pretty much anything
Well,
else.
I disagree. Disagree. But
We have different perspectives on this, apparently.
yeah, well,
As a member of the bald community.
as a member of the Bruce Willis community over there. Yeah, so yeah, I'd give it a watch. It's good to have your eyes open and see what uh children are up against. And
I'll say this:
yeah,
it's not an easy watch. In fact, it may be the scariest movie I've seen all year.
Yeah, because
And I love horror.
It's not fake. It's real. It's like going off topic just briefly.
Mm.
I saw a short story called "To Build a Fire," and it was a story written by
Jack London.
Jack London.
Mhm.
That's right. It's about a man who goes out in negative 50 degrees, that's freezing cold, but he thinks he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Basically, he ends up freezing to death, and that's in some ways far scarier than any thriller because it's
Yeah.
real,
Mhm.
and it could happen to you. I mean,
Cold kills people, yeah.
and it killed him in minutes.
Mhm.
It's just so. This is kind of making me think about that
Yeah.
because it's really what's happening today. There are monsters in the world, and it's good to know who they are.
Yeah.
So that's my first recommendation.
All right. Well, we go from. You have something to say?
No, I think it's your
Okay,
turn,
yeah.
actually.
So yeah, we go from one of the most horrifying, thought-provoking things to something that makes you laugh and hopefully think, but more in like a puzzle box, like, oh, what's going on way. We're talking about one of the better mysteries this year, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Now, again, this is the one that you two haven't seen that I have, and
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I was laughing my butt off in this movie. A lot of the time, okay, this isn't a political movie. Like you've seen the first Knives Out movie. It's not political, but it has people being political in it
Yeah,
to show their hypocrisy and stupidity.
yeah,
Like, in the first Knives Out movie, you see a family arguing about politics over dinner and showing just how blind all these people are and how they're just spouting off different points. And this movie, it continues to do that. Agatha Christie murder mysteries, which these movies are inspired by, they were supposed to skewer various different social aspects of the time, and that's continuing here. And oh my gosh, the dialogue. For one, I can say, yeah, it has a script like Die Hard, where every single line is a setup to something or a payoff to something else, and usually paid off multiple times, and setting up multiple things. It's a script that goes like clockwork. But it's also so darn funny. Like, there's somebody is going on, and I'm explaining something with this wonderful southern drawl that's so terrible and fake
Yeah.
and authentic, and I love it. And he's talking, and somebody walks in right as he says, and that leads us to the consensual cuckoldry for the top-rated news station platform. And just, wait, what?
Beg your pardon? Was that alliteration?
It's full of mockery and that just barely larger than life sort of acting where it's not quite a cartoon, but it's a heightened reality. It's something where if you can buy into it, if you can say, okay, yeah, let's watch these ridiculous people do real things and these real people do ridiculous things. You buy into it, you laugh, but you're also going, wait a second, does that add up? How does this happen? And then by the end of it, you're like, I need to see this again, because when you watch it again, it's all so obvious in hindsight. The title Glass Onion, I'll say this, it's a terrible title without having
Huh.
seen it. But if you see it, it makes perfect sense.
Hmm.
What does an onion have? Come on, you've seen Shrek.
layers.
An onion has
Well,
layers.
so do cakes. Cakes have layers.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
likes
yeah.
cake.
Well, let's say you've got a glass onion in front of you.
Okay.
You're gonna peel away those layers. What are you gonna find?
More glass.
Yeah, it's just one piece of glass. You're looking at the thing. You can see all the way to the center.
Right.
But you think there's layers because there's an onion. This movie presents you with mysteries, plural mysteries.
Hmm.
And the answer's right in front of you. And the movie convinces you that what you're seeing is not true. It's a great magic trick. And so, yeah, highly recommend Glass Onion. Very much like Weird, it's a movie that earns its PG-13. It's on Netflix. I think you'll have a great time.
Okay. Sounds good. I enjoyed Knives Out.
Mm.
Pretty good. You don't get a whole lot of detective mystery movies,
Yeah.
like original.
You don't get a whole lot of like mid-budget movies anymore. A movie that might cost like $40 to $50 million.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I'm glad it's doing well. I'm glad the mid-sized budget movie is not dead yet, and
Not dead yet.
yeah, it's another movie that gets by on the strength of its writing, acting, and directing.
That sounds good to me.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have to give that a try. You got any thoughts about that one, Stefan?
I'm just glad Ryan Johnson has found something that is appealing to audiences,
Mm.
and that that's the general consensus with both of these films. And
I Yeah,
keep
I've
sticking with this sort of thing, I
I've
think.
I've definitely thought about that a lot. His movie with Star Wars, it was very controversial. And so he leaves and he starts making these Oscar nominated movies that are bringing in millions, that are like reviving a dead genre. He's doing great. He's going to have an incredible career after this. What has J.J. Abrams done since The Rise of Skywalker?
He's blamed other people and shifted the blame.
He did have like a TV show called like Demonides or whatever for
Yeah,
HBO Max that was going to cost like $200 million
didn't
and be
he?
about sexually promiscuous women. And yeah, that was canceled immediately because why would anyone pay for that?
Didn't he threaten to put his sticky paws in DC at some point, like
Oh, he
Superman?
tried, and those projects have been canceled.
Oh yeah, wasn't he like he was gonna be in charge of Batgirl or something?
No, he
No,
was
that
he
was
was going to do an animated
Joss
Batman
Whedon.
show, an
Oh yeah,
animated
Joss Whedon.
Superman show, a live action Superman movie where he was going to be black and it was going to be written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. That one hasn't been officially canceled, but it's canceled.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
that's okay.
this is a great showing of Ryan Johnson saying, "Okay, you didn't like what I had to say. Okay, I'm going to do something else, and you may not like what I did before, but you won't be able to deny how much you like this." So good on him.
Right, yeah, I'd have to agree with that. It's like, like or dislike whatever he's done. It's nice when you can get together with people and agree that something is fun and refreshing
Hmm.
and be united on that,
Hmm.
which which is good. It's better than being divisive.
Yeah.
I'll just put it that way.
Well, it's easier with this because it's not like he's taking Sherlock Holmes and
Right.
subverting
It's something
expectations or
new.
whatever,
Yeah.
whatever the
Mm.
Phraseology.
the
Although,
phrase
boy,
would
does he
be,
subvert expectations in this.
the trigger
It's a
word, such
it's a
as
mystery. It's a murder mystery.
right,
Subverting expectations is the game, and also with comedy.
Right.
right.
And so
Well,
that's
yeah,
something you can play well too.
Hmm.
yeah. And like the thing with Star Wars, it's just like he just had a different view on what Star Wars is compared to other people,
Sure.
and I don't know. I don't know if
I
this,
mean, like you go back and look at that original Star Wars movie, especially.
yeah,
It's like it's an action movie, it's a drama, it's a war film, it's a western, it's a
yeah,
samurai. It's anything and everything. There's even monster stuff in it,
sure,
and so everyone took something different away from it, and
mm,
everyone has taken something different away. And Star Wars means something different to everyone. He
Yeah.
made a very specific version of Star
yeah.
Wars.
I think
There's something you always latch to.
Yeah.
something that just stinks for his case is that
Mm.
he was taking some of the main characters of Star
Right.
Wars. He was in charge of them for a movie,
Yeah.
and that I think that's what makes it so polarizing, is because people love those characters.
Right. And people love Sherlock Holmes, but they also love Benoit Blanc now because of Benoit Blanc, not because he's a
Yeah,
new take on Sherlock
I
Holmes.
I do strongly believe if Ryan Johnson did make his own separate movie first for Star Wars,
Hmm.
more people would like that movie because it'd be his own
Maybe.
characters.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
More people. I'm not saying people don't
Not
like
everyone,
it,
sure, yeah.
because people do love The Last Jedi. There is a passionate crowd out there.
Yeah.
People love it.
Hmm.
It's not that people don't like it. So yeah, good on you getting another A plus apparently on Glass Onion, Ryan Johnson,
Hmm.
and kudos to you.
Yeah. All right, Stefan, you want to step up to the plate? You got something
yes,
for us?
absolutely. I've The Northman for all of you. We've all seen it, and the reason I wanted to mention this one is because in 12th grade we read and watched Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, which is a 4-hour movie. But if you're into plays or Shakespeare or drama, I highly recommend. I think it's my
Mhm. favorite
favorite of the Shakespeare type films that I've seen. It's my favorite adaptation. And The Northman is basically Hamlet, but set
And
to
it's the story that Hamlet was inspired by.
right. It's set to Vikings.
Hmm.
It's about Amleth, which sounds like Hamlet, probably derived from that.
It's just Hamlet if you took the H from the beginning and put it at the end.
Yeah, and and if you're not familiar with Hamlet, you think Lion King. So uncle kills father to become king. Son has to go and confront his uncle at some point
Hmm.
and get his kingdom back. What I liked about this one is that it has a lot of aspects of the Norse mythology
Yeah,
as well as the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And because at the beginning, he's told basically that if he denies his destiny, that he will end up in sorrows or something like that. And the
Mm.
beginning of the film, after he runs away because his life is it's like the Lion King. He runs away for fear of
Yeah,
for
it
his
is.
life,
Mhm.
and he becomes this pillaging Viking, a berserker, which is a guy who
Not exactly a good person. I'm glad
no.
this Viking movie doesn't try and make sure, like, oh, this person, he sure is a swell guy. No, some people may be good and some people may be bad, but they're vicious, brutal killers.
Yes, a berserker is essentially somebody in the Viking culture and warrior culture who covers themselves with blood and wears wolf or bear or other animal skins, impersonates those animals,
Gets high.
takes a drug, gets high, jumps over walls and raids, rapes and pillages. And he mostly does like gross things like throat ripping out with his teeth and
Mm.
killing people. But I think once the high of battle and the drugs wear off, he sees the other Vikings, his kin, for lack of a better word, taking the people that they're pillaging and putting them in this massive hall and burning down the building on top of these
Mm.
people. And
Like, there may
it
be glory, but at the same time, all of a sudden, this is what he's been reduced to.
right, and he gets the wheels turning in his head. He's like, I am not living up to my full potential.
Mm.
And I don't think that he understands entirely what that is. Because uh, mild spoilers. I'll try not to spoil everything, but he learns that his destiny is maybe not based in the past, but
Mm.
in of his family, namely his dad dying, but in the future of his family. And I thought that was so cool
Mhm.
because uh, he by fulfilling what he thinks is his destiny, he fulfills what his destiny is actually all about, and
Mm.
it's about the future and securing his line. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I never thought that, like, the tagline for a movie would be so generic on just first going in, but then so thought-provoking afterwards. Conquer your fate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that just sounds like, oh, like the generic, like, if you could change your fate, would you? Or
Yeah,
is fate
I was gonna say it's
inescapable? But
like
it's
from
like,
Brave.
yeah, but like, without going into too much of it, fate is this inescapable thing in this world. But it turns out fate could have two different meanings. Is it path A or path B? You get to choose. You know how one of them ends. You don't know how the other ends. Do you go for the thing you're drawn to or the thing you feel you should do? Both of which fulfills your fate.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, definitely. There's a lot of great scenes where we see Valkyrie, we see an old 8 foot tall Viking zombie warrior.
Hmm.
He gives battle to him,
Weird prophecies and curses and spells.
witches, and I think the weirdest thing for me was Willem Dafoe at the very beginning,
Yeah.
but he knocked it out of the park. So I think that was the intention. Is like, yeah, this is a different culture. They're gonna be weird and brutal, and it's a different time. And
Hmm.
good luck to you.
Yeah, and I like that. Necessarily, you don't know whether or not the things she's seen are true, like the
Yeah.
Valkyrie and Willem Dafoe's head talking or whatever.
But it's real for him.
It's
It's a real
real. It's
experience.
real for him. That's the point.
And it plays a lot like Greek mythology because whether you're uh, Oedipus or you're Odysseus,
Mm.
you have to please the gods and you have to fulfill the prophecy, whatever that means.
And in doing so, you're walking a cursed path. Like, it's a story, sure, so twists and turns happen, but oh my gosh, these twists and turns are a terrible thing to behold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've got oracles. They've got obtaining the sword.
Hmm.
They've got help from a goddess. All those. It's very hero cycle.
Hmm.
Uh, that's Joseph Campbell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hero's journey, yeah.
It's very the hero's journey is very strong in this one. It's R. Jed edited it for us, and if you can, that's great because
It's a very R-rated movie.
yes, there's blood from battle and blood from natural processes.
Hmm.
I won't elaborate, but
Great one-liner about it, though.
yes, yes, yes. So good performances.
Hmm.
Finally, Skarsgård could play a Viking, and he
Mhm.
was very happy about it, and so was I.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I enjoyed it. This is not what I expected going in because I had no
No.
idea. I had
Yeah.
no idea what it was. So I went in, watched it with Stefan, the edited version, and I was like, oh, this is a lot darker, right? Like right off the bat, the
Mm.
realism of them just going in, killing people, raping women.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, okay, and it just happens. It's just
Hmm.
real.
It doesn't try to like, oh, look how sad this is, or look how cool this is. It's just starkly showing you reality
Yes.
and letting you be
Yeah,
confronted by it.
Yeah,
Vikings are not
I
nice people.
it reminded me of Game of Thrones. Like
Mm.
George R. R. Martin, he likes to make these stories where these things happened,
Hmm.
but he kind of does it in a way that like there's always somebody good around that's saying, "Oh, this is wrong. You
Yeah.
can't be doing this," like Daenerys or
Hmm.
whoever. But in this, it's just like it's happening. It's just gonna happen. Like somebody's taking a dump over there.
Yeah.
It's just like if we saw somebody, relieving themselves in the streets, at least here in
Calling the cops.
Idaho, you would kind of be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But you know, there it's just like, oh, my buddy's he's taking a woman, he's gonna do things to her in the
Yeah.
next house. Okay,
Yeah,
it doesn't bother them. It just happens. That's what I wasn't expecting. It's just like how nonchalant it
Right.
was.
But then it also does show the perspective of those people and what they do to survive.
Yes. So that's the nice switch, is because he finally gets the call to adventure,
Hmm.
like Bilbo Baggins or whatever, and he gets back off his butt, more like Simba, I suppose.
Yeah.
Mufasa came and told him to get off his butt, and he kind of sees what he did was wrong because he meets the people he was with,
Hmm.
and it's a fun journey, in the way that there's some redeeming qualities about this guy.
Mm.
So that's what I like. I don't like watching bad people from start to finish. If they at least change, I'm more okay with that.
Yeah. It's it's definitely not a movie for everyone, and I'm not just saying that because of the violence. Because yes, the violence in it is very violent. Like, do you remember the sports game in it?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Um, but we've talked a lot about the violence and the stark reality of the horror, but there are long stretches of this movie where it's plotting and people are making plans and you're looking at the landscape and people are talking about what it means to be a man and planning and plotting and
Mm,
maybe a little more landscapes. It's
yeah.
not the most action packed fast paced movie you're ever gonna see.
No, the most action I think is at the beginning,
Yeah.
and then after that kind of dies down, and it's just this is the story, and what does fate, and
Hmm.
it's asking, is fate gonna happen, or are you gonna make fate happen because that's what you believe?
Yeah.
I think that's the point of him and the Norse gods and
Hmm.
such. It's not so much if you believe in fate,
Are
or
you going to
so much
choose to believe
not
in
so
it?
much if fate is real or not. It's
Hmm.
if you believe in it or not.
Yeah.
And it happened to work out that fate was real for him, and it
Hmm.
worked with his new family because spoiler, I mean, his old family was not all of them were so great.
Yes.
So yeah.
yeah. He's What I also enjoyed is that in the film
Hmm.
he finds ways to, in a very morally immoral world, I guess. He finds ways to be moral, and it turns out that whatever is driving him towards his fate is backing him up, because there's a scene where he howls at the moon, and then the dogs and wolves in the area start attacking the people,
Hmm.
because what his uncle did was inexcusable
Hmm.
for the reasons he did it. So he is backed up by some kind of power guiding him through this, and so he's a Moses type character also, because there are slaves, because it turns out slavery is a thing that happened everywhere,
Hmm.
and he freed the slaves, and he doesn't see the promised land.
Yeah, it very much feels like a Viking movie made about Vikings, but made by Vikings.
Right.
It's not just that it takes their religion seriously. It treats it, oh yeah, of course, if he howls at the moon and he's favored by the gods, that they would respond this way. Of course,
Right.
perfectly logical.
And they back up his quest,
Hmm.
and they help him to realize what the point of it is.
Yeah.
So I think that I liked it quite a bit. So
Mm.
I think I'll leave it at that, though. I recommend you guys try it out.
Mm.
Okay. I recommend it too. That's the thing with a lot of these movies. We all have seen them. Well, there's a
Some
few
of
of them.
these.
Some of these movies we have seen them, so we all kind of recommend them.
Hmm.
Which is why this next one on my list is not one I would recommend. Like, it's not my top 5 movies or whatever, but it is one I watched and enjoyed.
Hmm.
And it's the HBO Max original Christmas Story Christmas. So the sequel, the
The
better, the
sequels.
better sequel to A Christmas Story. So it's a sequel to a movie from what is it, the 80s?
It was like 80. I want to say it was 83.
83.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So it's got the same actor, the same kid actor at
Holy
least.
crap, that was a great one.
1983. Yeah.
Wow, gosh. It's got the same kid actor. The mom actress is different.
The dad actor's dead.
The
Yeah.
dad, yeah, he's dead.
He was literally an old man in the first one, so.
Yep.
Yeah, there was no way that was gonna ever work. But unless they made a sequel immediately after. But this movie was kind of a cult classic. Nobody watched it at first. I mean, the first one was a cult classic. Anyways, so this second one, I think it's a pretty decent sequel as far as sequels go. It has plenty of laughs. The kid is narrating. The
Longer
original,
kid. Yeah, Ralphie.
The original kid, Ralphie's narrating. Whereas in the first movie, it's actually the
grown-up version of
the director.
Well,
the writer
Right,
of
right.
the original story. Yeah.
So, and I was worried about that because from the first movie, he has such a great voice. And he has such a way of capturing the innocence and imagination of childhood.
Yeah, not just the imagination of childhood, but remembering it as an adult.
Yeah, and remembering it fondly. So I was a little worried about that, but I feel like the actor for Ralphie did a good enough job that I was satisfied. And there's just parts in it that make me laugh. There's a snowball fight.
it's hilarious.
It's hilarious. Stefan and I laughed at that a lot.
We rewound it a couple times.
It's one of those parts where we would rewind it and watch it over and over again. Which we did mostly as kids, like watching Muppets and or Star Wars lightsaber fights. It was just really funny. Worth rewinding and rewatching. So I thought it was good. Had some pretty crazy moments like the sledding scene. And it just kind of takes things to another level because they're still doing stupid things. Like they did stupid things as kids, like licking frozen light poles. But in this, they're adults, so they can do more because they have more access to things. As adults, you can do more things.
Yeah.
So it kind of takes it to another level. Yeah. What'd you think about it, Stefan?
Well, what I enjoyed a lot about bringing back the original Ralphie is he still has that quality and those really super blue eyes that make him
kind of like that boyishness.
The boyishness, yeah. And he pulls it off, even though I'm pretty sure the actor's in his 50s now, at least. But he pulls off, this is the same Ralphie, he's just an adult. And it's like, yeah, there are many qualities, even as an adult, that I'm like, yeah, I have certain childish or childlike qualities that are still a part of me. They're not the biggest part of me, but, Ralphie imagines that he's turning in his book and that publishers are just going to publish it, and it's basically the A plus 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 moment. And he pulls it off well. His narration is good, and if that didn't work, then the film wouldn't work. But they make it work, and they do good by the guy who played the dad, the old man in the original. And overall, it was fun. It was surprisingly good because usually I'm not particularly interested in revisiting things that can be very well left alone.
Yeah.
Certainly doesn't surpass the original, but it's good enough that it's worth mentioning. So
you've convinced me. I think I'll watch it next Christmas.
Okay. Yeah, it's fun.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go into our final round here by talking about a movie that I'd seen before when it came out in theaters, and we all just watched today, some of us for the first time. Steven Spielberg's latest, The Fabelmans. I mean, it's now 2 years in a row that I've had a favorite movie for most of the year be dethroned at the very end by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect movie, but I mean, if you just told me on paper, it's the story of a little Jewish boy who has, imperfect parents as he learns to make movies. That sounds so boring. Like, okay, sure, what's the plot? What's the arc? I don't care. And it's like, but oh my gosh, I was sucked in from the very first frame. I felt way more things than I would like to admit to while watching this movie. I laughed a lot. I cried a lot, especially in the first time I watched it. I know it's a movie about the magic of movies, but hot dang, it reminded me of the magic of movies. It, yeah, a lot of things hit close to home in the best way possible. It's a bit of a long movie. And there's not only is it a long movie, it's kind of like Return of the King, where it has multiple points where you're like,
Yeah.
okay, it's wrapping up now. This has been good. Oh, it's still going.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see where it's going, and it's still going.
Yeah.
I'm liking where it's going, but it's still going. But like,
Mm.
really, that's pretty much my only complaint about it.
It has a perfect ending though, as far as
Yes, its actual ending is.
yeah. It's my favorite part of the film, I think.
Hmm,
It's basically this is basically Spielberg just talking about his life, and he changes it up because this is a movie.
yeah,
But I would say I'd go so far as to say it's some of it is what he wishes had
yes.
happened, and what his relationship with
Yes,
his family
you-
was.
You're kind of watching him go to therapy, kind of rewrite the past so he can, unpack some of his feelings and have the happier version of what could have happened.
Dude, it's
Right.
like Barf from Civil War, Captain Civil.
It is, yeah.
Gosh, it's barf.
If just to clarify, the scene where Iron Man is using holograms to rewrite history, his
Yeah.
own history.
You
Like
know,
say goodbye to his dad before he died, that
right.
sort of thing.
And it's still in the realistic enough that it's like, okay, he was kind of, a smart aleck to his dad, but at least he told him he loved him before he went off.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same thing with Spielberg and his dad. His
It can't change, it can't rewrite the past, but you can,
wish that he had done something a little differently
yeah.
and put it to film.
Hmm.
I think and certainly family dramas or dysfunctional families, or
Hmm.
there's plenty out there, and so there's definitely an appeal to that drama. For me, the appeal was how Spielberg solved problems
Hmm.
with filmmaking, and how he was, even as a young lad, a very, very, and it tends to be the case. Peter Jackson is similar.
Hmm.
He did similar things, but they're very talented with what little they had.
Even in its most rough, raw form, you see that spark, that something, that X factor, that is something special's there.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
was basically born to do this as soon as he saw his first film.
Yeah.
And so, those sort of things, I'd be happy if he made a sequel that talked about the 70s, because it kind of ends in the 60s when he goes off to school and he doesn't care for it because school is
He wants to do, he doesn't want to learn.
right. He wants to learn by doing rather than sitting and,
Yeah.
suffering panic attacks because he's bored out of his mind, or he's just not understanding. But anyway, if he did a sequel about just more of the filmmaking, because that's
He's got stories to tell with Jaws alone.
right, and I think that would be fun. But for what is there, uh, it's good. It's worth a watch. It is a tad long, like Jed said. I think I agree with that critique. But other than that, I think I wonder if it could have been PG. That was something else.
It's really only PG-13 because of a few GDs and
So there's an F bomb.
yeah, there's one F-bomb.
I did not catch it, so.
Well, it was that scene at the very end.
I did catch it.
Yeah.
I lied. Yeah,
That
that's why. it was.
scene is
Okay,
magical, and
yeah.
I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
Technically, PG movies can get away with one F-bomb, but considering the subject matter of like, mild spoilers, but like emotional infidelity and what that can do to your children, it's
Yeah.
it's not a it's a mature subject. Like,
Mhm.
children shouldn't have to experience this, but children will. So,
Right.
Yeah. And that part bothered me, not because it was bad filmmaking or anything. It's just
since it was so good.
yeah, because it was good, and because you could really see the pain on people's faces of what was happening, and
Yeah, all parties involved.
it was just no good. And it's easy, you know as a viewer to just blame one side or the other and what's
Hmm.
going on, or even blame the kids for
Yeah.
acting a certain way. Excuse me. But it was very, very excellently made,
Mm.
and I enjoyed it. Um, I could just stay watching it. I mean, I could focus on it the whole time. I never got distracted. Never thought, "Oh, this is boring." It's just, I think it's Steven Spielberg at his finest,
Hmm.
and yeah, I hope it does him well with this barf therapy he's doing.
He over the last decade or so, Spielberg is the king of blockbusters. No one does it like him, but
Yeah,
over the last decade or so, he's been doing like these small dramas, and it's been getting smaller and smaller, and more introspective and more introspective. And unless he does, like being Steven Spielberg for his next movie, I don't know how he gets more smaller and more personal than this one. So I'm curious to see what he does next.
didn't he do Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of like the one anomaly where he did a blockbuster all of a sudden.
Yeah, I feel like and that one didn't feel like this one did. I look back on that one, and maybe I don't remember it as fondly, but
Sure.
it didn't feel very Spielbergy to me.
Like it has its moments in the few live action portions,
Yeah.
but it almost in those sections felt more like classic Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah.
Sure. It's like how I watched the Lion King, quote unquote live action or whatever you
Yeah,
call it, John Favreau's Lion King. It didn't feel like John Favreau's work, necessarily.
yeah,
But then you go watch The Mandalorian and you're like, okay, here we go. This is
Mhm.
what he does.
yeah.
This is what I'm used to.
Hmm.
Right.
Maybe Spielberg didn't have his heart in Ready Player One. Maybe, and I wouldn't blame him. He's been
Yeah.
working with practical effects most of his career, and then he's
Mhm.
thrown in Ready Player One, where everything.
Basically an animated movie.
Yeah, it's an animated movie, and maybe that's where he struggled
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
pass that
and
hurdle.
That was just him being a nerd, kind of
and
like
like
Favreau is a fan of The Lion King.
yeah,
And
like
that's all that was.
so much of Spielberg's work is about nostalgia for the things that he grew up on. But Ready Player One was a movie about nostalgia for Spielberg and the world that he made.
Yeah, like you go to George Lucas the prequels.
Hmm.
Like he wanted it to be heavy
Yeah.
CGI. He
Yeah.
wanted to advance that part of filmmaking. He
Mhm.
wanted that to be, and he did it.
But Spielberg he had to. He
He
was kind
had
of forced
Yeah,
to.
I mean, how else are you gonna make a video game movie?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I like this movie.
Mm.
5 out of 5. Not my favorite movie of the year though, just because I
Sure.
sucker for action.
It's very much it's a movie where people talk and where people walk around and talk and people sit and talk.
And
But
there's nothing wrong with that
no.
if it's good.
But it's not necessarily a movie where you're going to be shoveling popcorn down your face and like I can't believe what's going to happen next. It's more like you're sitting there thinking I can't believe it. I wonder what happens next. Just a different pace.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Stefan.
Yeah. Next off, last one for me is The Batman. And for me, this one was good enough that I actually bought it. I'm not as liberal as at buying films as a lot of people, but this one I was like, yeah, this one was worthwhile.
Hmm.
Last year, or I guess the year before that, I watched the first of every Batman film,
Mm-hmm.
and I decided what I liked and what I was expecting. What I really liked about The Batman is it's literally The Batman. Jed was telling me today a fun fact about the costume is that it has a literal butt flap so that he could go to the bathroom without taking 40 minutes to take the costume off so he could go to the bathroom because he's basically living in this costume for a good 90% of the film. And I really like that. I really like the noir detective journey.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked his relationship with Alfred. I liked the Batmobile. I loved Colin Farrell as the Penguin. He was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he said.
World's greatest detectives.
Yeah. Oh, what are you showing me? Come on. And what was the other thing? Dang.
I mean, I'll say this.
Thought.
2 movies back to back with stellar Paul Dano performances.
Right. Yeah.
Most people didn't know him before this year, but he is terrific as the Riddler. He was great as the father in the Fablemans, and this dude has an Oscar in his future. I don't know when, but it's coming.
Right, and it might be a long time coming because
Hmm.
I think he's been
Oh, he was
pretty
great,
dang
and
good
There
in.
Will Be Blood
That's the one with
with the
Daniel Day
great drink
Lewis.
for milkshake. Yeah.
Daniel Day Lewis.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I think the opening of the Batman might be my favorite opening for a
Like
Batman film.
specifically the stuff with Riddler, or like the 5 minute sequence where it's Batman throughout the city.
This might be controversial, but I would have cut out the Riddler murdering the guy at the very beginning,
Interesting. Okay.
which is big, but it's a great. I can't take away that uh, it's a great horror thing. Like the Riddler's super creepy when he's in the
Blood
shadow.
curdling scream,
Yeah,
and then
that
watching the murder weapon fall in front of the camera like that.
Yeah,
right.
maybe fit that after that Batman scene. Like I kind
Well,
of think that
I
would
yeah.
be better.
Well,
I
for
don't know how it would
I
work, but just somewhere after,
yeah.
because that scene is still good with Riddler in the dark, the shadows, because it shows he's a coward,
Hmm.
and that it's important character development for that character. Because honestly, Riddler for me hasn't been that compelling of a villain,
Sure.
and I've you know read few comics, but the ones with Riddler, he's just the annoying guy that
He's the guy that asks
he's
questions.
the know-it-all, and he's
He's
just
the
annoying.
troll.
Mm,
But it's kind of nice to know he's a coward, and in this movie, he's given character that he thinks he's a hero,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So I like that about this movie because I was worried they're gonna somehow make Joker the main bad guy
Oh
again,
gosh, yeah.
just like in Arkham, the Arkham games.
yeah.
Mhm.
Joker's always the bad guy. Can't give Scarecrow a chance.
Like, yeah, Scarecrow may be the villain, but really, it's Joker.
Joker's the
Ra's al
real
Ghul may
threat.
be the villain, or Hugo Strange may be the villain. Black Mask may be the villain, but really, it's Joker.
Yeah, because if our what's his name, Scarecrow, if he gasses the city,
Hmm.
yeah, that sucks for the city. But
Yeah.
if Joker takes over Batman's mind, the world's gonna end.
Hmm.
It's over.
Yeah.
So that's the bigger threat. So I'm glad they didn't sweep the rug out from under the Riddler in this last
Mhm.
movie.
What I like about that 10-minute or so opening sequence is they establish uh, the character of Batman, the character of Gotham City, which
Yeah. It's my
hasn't
favorite depiction of Gotham.
it hasn't had a character since
Tim Burton.
Tim. Yeah, I was gonna say
No,
Batman '89.
I'd say actually that the Schumacher films, I didn't like their depiction of Gotham,
Sure,
but it
yeah.
definitely had a strong identity.
It had an identity, but it wasn't a very strong character.
Yeah.
Like it has a personality, but it wasn't a character. Because even Nolan, when you have the Narrows, that's a personality and that's unique,
Yeah. But
but
then
it's
in
not a
Dark Knight and Dark
character.
Knight Rises, it's like, oh, it's Chicago.
And
And then in like Batman v Superman
mm,
or Justice League, it's
it's
city.
there, yeah. So,
Mm.
but this one it had a personality. It had the fact that it was just raining all the time and it was always overcast. But they also found a strange beauty. I always say that this film is a Batman film that feels like a film. It feels like a movie because some of the others feel like either a comic book or a painting or a photograph.
Mm,
But this one felt like a movie, and that
very cinematic.
yes,
Documentary.
yes, the 10-minute opening sequence, just Batman narrating. You seeing, all hell breaking loose in Gotham on Halloween night,
Hmm.
and just
The score is terrific.
right, and the lead up to Batman and his different approach instead of just jumping out of the
Sure, like,
shadow,
I'm super scary and you'll never see me coming. No, he wants to see you
or
coming.
smoke grenades or
Mhm.
whatever. He just stomps right into
And how everyone is afraid of the shadows
yeah.
because of him.
He just stomps his way into a fight with a gang of guys,
Yeah.
and
Maybe that's because he's not as experienced yet. He's still
Right.
pretty new Batman.
right, but it's more for the intimidation rather than separating and disorienting. He goes head first and just lets them know that he's coming. But he also has the compassion that is necessary for Bruce Wayne, and it manifests better by
Hmm.
the end of the film.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, we do have a full episode about this movie. It's really something else.
Yeah.
So
I would definitely recommend this one. I could watch this almost any day of the year.
it's a movie.
It's a movie.
I've said this many times. It's a movie that earns its PG-13. There's some times where it felt, like straight up like the movie Seven, which is one of the darkest, most horrifying movies I've ever seen in my life. So, yeah, not exactly a movie for the kiddies, which is weird to say about a Batman movie, but
Yeah.
it's terrifically done.
Yeah, one last note, Michael Giacchino's
Ooh.
score. It's been a while since we've had specific themes for characters, and hopefully those are recurring themes, and I really
Yeah.
enjoyed the score.
hmm Okay, so with that said about the Batman, we'll move on to our final movie. Brendan, what do we got?
All right, so it's the best movie by universal consensus.
Yeah,
Okay,
Sure.
for me, I really like this movie,
It's an
and
excellent one.
you might have guessed what it is already because we haven't mentioned it, but it is Top Gun Maverick.
I thought it was Morbius.
Huh.
It's Morbin time.
Oh
I
yeah,
thought it was more of a
it is actually Morbius. So let me take that back. Maverick was
it was alright.
minus, but Morbius was Morbius plus 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 plus
Mhm.
plus. But Top Gun, seriously though, Top Gun Maverick is, I think it's a good popcorn movie. It's a popcorn movie at its finest. You go in, you just have a good time.
Mhm.
There's thrills, there's downs, there's ups. There's dramatized relationships between Top Gun and what's the new kid's name? Goose or whatever.
Yeah,
Rooster.
Rooster. I almost said turkey.
Huh.
And you call yourself a Top Gun fan?
Oh, Robert. Now you decide to talk, huh?
Sorry. I'm insulted.
I gotta say, personally, my favorite is the Iceman of the movie, which is Hangman.
Yeah,
Glenn
Hangman.
Powell plays such a terrible, wonderfully lovable, hateable jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He brought weight and dimension to a cartoon, a caricature, a stereotype.
I think he did. Because Iceman in the original Top Gun, I don't feel like he deserved a real redemption as it portrayed in the movie.
hmm
But this new guy, what's his name in the movie?
Hangman.
Hangman, because he hangs his people to dry.
Yeah.
He actually does earn it, because first he's humbled,
Mhm.
and then, basically from there he goes out and helps everyone. He's still kind of cocky and everything, but
He has
a likable way.
He is the arc of Han Solo in the original Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
He's the likable rogue who, at the end, is the one who comes in to save the day because he's just changed and become a better person.
Yeah, there you go. And one of the things I like about this movie is over the years I've started to become more of a fan of Tom Cruise because I just watch his newer Mission Impossible movies.
He's a real commitment to reality.
I really enjoyed those.
Ironically, considering Scientology, but I didn't say that.
Well, hey, watch it. Their lawyers are good.
Yeah, well, it's like I always say,
Green Lizard.
learn to be disappointed in your celebrities.
Yes.
Anyways, besides the point, good actor, good at doing his own stunts and everything. I don't know. I was on the edge of my seat, just having a good time.
Mhm.
I've heard it argued that if this movie came out 10 years ago, when there were better movies out, that
Sure.
it would be seen as just, oh, it was okay. But this year, it's all great. I don't know. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Maybe it wouldn't have made as much back then. Maybe that's true, but
Maybe.
I liked it because just on the edge of my seat. It has the whole New Hope space run where they have to go through trenches, but in my opinion, way more exciting, even though they're not spaceships.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about those planes with the cameras on them. Like you were there, you were with those
The
actors in the air. It's so cool.
the advancements in like the science and technique of cinematography for this movie, it's going to change cinema forever. Yeah, maybe more than Avatar 2 did. I know I said what I said, but
You notice how Avatar 2 is not on our list.
yeah,
Or,
I'm
any
the only
Marvel movie.
I'm the only one of us who's seen it, and yeah, I'm not a fan of it. We were fans of various degrees to some of the Marvel movies this year, but
Yeah.
none of them worthy of the top 10. And let's be honest, if these are movies we're recommending, you've already seen them. I mean, granted, most of everyone has seen Top Gun Maverick too, but we don't care. It's great.
Yes, that is true. And if you want to know my, at least I'm gonna assume this is our list for Marvel movies. I haven't seen Black
Wakanda
Panther
Forever.
but yeah, it's not even Black Panther. It's Wakanda Forever. Yeah, I would go Doctor Strange.
That's it.
That's
And
it.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
Now I didn't. I
Like,
couldn't finish Love and Thunder.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
It had some redeemable qualities, but it was bad.
Yeah. Oh, and Top Gun Maverick. What it does better.
Hmm.
Jumping back to that.
Sure.
Is
Back on topic.
basically everything from the love interest and that's the love scene in the first movie is just super uncomfortable.
with the whole saliva string.
Yes, and
Oh,
You have to bring that part up.
I mean, I have to. I know, I do.
it's your favorite.
this movie is a lot more tasteful,
Hmm.
and that one almost felt like
Hmm.
borderline, like I don't know, some fetish. It was weird. This one is just way better,
I'll say this.
way more
Where's
tasteful.
my sweaty volleyball scene? Dang it.
Well, you got a sweaty football scene instead.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
first movie, the emotional moments, granted, they're effective, but it's very soap opera melodramatic. When Goose
Yes.
dies, or
Yeah.
am I gonna fly again? Can I bring it out in me? Yeah, the emotional scenes in this, like with Iceman, oh my gosh, it tugs at the heartstrings. There's talk of Tom Cruise getting nominated for Best Actor, and it's like, sure, he's great overall in the movie, but it's because of that scene with Iceman.
Yeah.
He really brought his A game. You don't really see Tom Cruise the actor so often as you do see Tom Cruise the action star, but he brought everything he could to this movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have to say the first one, at least for me,
Hmm.
I never got it. I thought it kind of sucks as a kid and an
Mm.
adult. Besides the jet stuff, I have to
Even the people who like it, we like it for what it is.
right. And for me, the three things that stood out to me about this film is one, it must be seen in theaters.
Yes.
It's very difficult for me to think about owning it.
And it's a
'Cause
great movie at home. It's still well structured, well paced, all that.
But it's hard to do it justice when it's just in your home. The second thing is I'd agree that the romance is better in this film because I like that Maverick is still Maverick in the when he's in a plane,
Hmm.
but he's grown up and he's decided not to just pursue younger women or something like that. He pursues a woman closer to his age
Yeah, a woman in her 50s, like he is.
and go from there. And
Yeah.
it's more believable and wholesome than the other one was just kind of stupid.
But they don't
Like a
play
music
Take My Breath
video.
Away in this one.
Oh, brother.
Yeah.
But and the last thing about this film and why I think it made money is that Tom Cruise knows how to treat the fans,
Hmm.
treat his fans specifically, and he went so far as to thank people for showing up to the theater.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And rather than saying you must see this film because if you don't, then you are this or that or this. You
Mhm.
know your fans. You're like you want to see this film because we made a great product for you to be enveloped by and to be changed by or to be uh, thrilled by. And it
Mhm.
certainly is a thrilling film and it's
Mhm.
a worthy watch if you can see it in theaters, which I doubt
It's
you
going
can
to be
at this point.
re-released many times.
Yes, take the opportunity to do it.
Hear me out. VR. Use it.
Hey,
Please.
You want to hear something that's really going to break your heart?
No.
This movie, it was supposed to come out actually several years ago. Because of the
Yeah.
pandemic, it kept getting delayed and delayed, and it was taking forever. There was a point where Paramount was saying, you know what, let's just put it on Paramount Plus. We'll make a big deal out of it, and, people will come sign up to our streaming service, right? This movie made over $1 billion at the box office. It stayed in theaters forever, making all the money.
Yep.
Then after that, after a long successful run at the box office, you could buy it at home. And it made all the money buying it at home. And then it was put on a streaming service, and everyone signed up to get that money because they had seen it in theaters and they wanted to see it again and again. This is how you make movies.
That's how you milk a film.
Yeah. This is how you maximize your profits. It's great.
Yeah. Well, and the
My
biggest.
parents,
What'd you say?
my parents, they've watched that movie I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can get annoying. It can be It can be like Frozen, where it's just a crowd pleaser sort of thing.
But like,
How
it's
dare you.
not just a crowd pleaser. And Stefan talked about how, giving the fans what they want. It's not empty fan service.
No.
It has a few moments of fan service that I wasn't a big fan of, but
Yeah.
there's a difference between, oh, the fans like this, they'll like seeing it again, and I think the fans will like this.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was fun, and I like that. We see a lot of these days of bringing characters back from their old franchises,
Yeah.
and the new hero comes in, and I like that this movie doesn't try to deconstruct what is old, and not that that's necessarily bad.
But it wouldn't have been right for this movie.
But it was just getting old in my opinion. Just seeing that over and over again. It's just like let's just make Top Gun the best. Why can't he just be the best? Or Maverick, I mean. Why can't he be the best pilot? So it was refreshing to see that and just be like, yeah, he's the best, and he's gonna teach these people because he knows better. He just does. He's lived longer. He's done this millions of times, and he has the experience, and he's not like a dick about it. He's really cool,
Mm.
and
Whoa, this is a family show.
family show recommending these.
Yeah, how many R-rated
Drake-
movies did we recommend?
Yeah,
Our favorite.
we edit those movies, by the way, if
Yeah.
you feel uncomfortable.
And we'll edit Brendan next time.
No, I'm keeping that in.
So yeah,
I said next
Okay.
time. Next time.
I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of fun, good popcorn movie,
hmm
and I don't mind the nostalgia stuff.
Sure.
It's cool, and you know, like one of your nostalgia, was it the plane that they find that just happens to be there?
Yeah, that was something like, okay, it's a stretch, but I'll buy it. But we're like, when you meet Rooster for the first time, and he like looks exactly like his dad
Oh,
with the
he's
same
playing
mustache
piano.
and the same haircut, and he's playing the same piano at a bar, and he's playing the same song because that's the song we saw once. But like, if you're going to do things like that,
Yeah,
it can be done far worse. It was done well for what it was. I just have a pet peeve for things like
yeah,
that.
no, that didn't bother me.
Yeah.
But well, especially since those planes, they do go for sale after.
Sure, yeah.
They so I could see another country having it. Heck,
Mhm.
we left a bunch of military equipment in Afghanistan. Who's
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
maybe that's where they got it from.
Yeah.
So
All right. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about Top Gun Maverick.
yeah,
Do you?
no, I'm good.
I mean, there were a lot of movies that came out this year. Brendan suggested I may have seen all of them. I don't know. I saw a lot of them. I wouldn't recommend all of them, but there was a lot of gems to look for and find this year. So yeah, go ahead and check out what we got. If you have access to these movies, if you got a free evening, go for it. You won't regret it.
There you go.
Robert, where can they find us?
On Twitter, did we ever change that?
We did, yeah.
We changed that.
I'm so used to saying the other thing. Okay, here is our Twitter handle. He's got it.
Sweet. All right, guys. At the WOC, just you'll
with
find
with underscores.
with
Yeah.
underscores. I'll let you figure out where it's. So you can find us there. Obviously on YouTube if you're watching it here, or on Anchor.fm, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. That's about it. I just got something thrown at my face.
Yes, it's the wonders of doing the audio only edition. All right.
Yes, you go.
So with all that said, this has been the World of Cinematics, and we'll see you all next time. Take care.
Peace out.
Ciao.